The next issue is going to be House Concurrent Resolution number 5, a concurrent resolution calling for the expediting of research regarding the safety and efficacy of the use of marijuana for medical purposes. The sponsor is Representative Danny Bentley. Representative Bentley, if you could come down, introduce yourself. Welcome to Senate Health and Welfare. It's been a little while since you've been before us. But just introduce yourself, and whenever you're ready, please begin your testimony. Oh, we've got obviously the chairwoman as well, so welcome, both of you.
I'm State Representative Danny R. Bentley, District 98.
And I'm Kim Mosier, State Rep from the 64th District and co-sponsor.
Okay. HCR 5, I think this is the 4th year for this one, but it is a concurrent resolution asking for safety and efficacy of marijuana. Of course, our state constitution in the first section, the third Bill of Rights, asks for happiness and safety, so that's what it's based upon. The history of marijuana, most of you already know because it's been in the public eye so much, but up to 1937, let me kind of start there. 37, we had the Tax Act on marijuana. 37, we have a sulfonamide problem too, which asked for safety. And then 36 was when Reefer Madness was made. So if you want to watch that, it's on YouTube right now, so you can go see it in black and white. But in 1973, an interesting thing happened. A science called pharmacokinetics was established, and you could measure a nanogram. So since we measured nanogram, pharmacokinetics is administration, distribution, elimination, and metabolism of a drug, that we can find a drug at any time in the body and determine the amount of it wherever it is at the body at any time after we discovered this. With marijuana, we have had some clinical studies inside the country and out where we've seen drug interactions with the cytochrome P450, like with Coumadin or Santamune or beta blockers or calcium channel blockers. Seen problems with pregnancy. We see in lower of IQ with the young developing mind. Respiratory problems. Of course, anytime you got smoke, you got COPD. Heart attacks after people are using it. And teens coming on to marijuana substance disorder quicker. So there are studies on schizophrenia and violence. So in 1973, getting back to it, it's when the whole thing changed. There's only one whole plant product that's on the market, and it's made in England. And it's 98% CBD. But the whole plant is the question. So even in Congress, the question is there too. For 30 members of Congress, in May 7th of 1919, wrote a letter to the U.S. Attorney General Barr asking them and the DEA to do whatever you can to speed up and improve the research application process. And there was also 27 members of Congress and the District of Columbia where they had already legalized medical marijuana, and they knew that we need more research for safety and efficacy. So that's the basis of the resolution. Now, who it would go to? We'd go to the National Institute of Health, the DEA, and the FDA. So why do we do this type of resolution? We've been doing it 4 years. Well, here's the proof. On November the 12th of 2019, Yale Med School got a phase 1 study on marijuana. So that's the reason we do this. It's just a resolution where we send it as a whole body asking for more phase 1, more research and efficacy. That's about all there is to it. Also, I want to tell you this. Everything in that resolution is documented just like a term paper. So anybody want to see where I got my sources? I got them with me. And Kim, you have anything to say?
Well, I mean, I'm very supportive of further research. I feel like, we talk a lot about marijuana and the medicinal qualities, but we don't know exactly what those medicinal qualities are just yet. And so absolutely more clinical trials are needed. So I'm very supportive.
And with that, I think someone else wanted to speak, but
we've got a few other individuals. I want to thank you both for bringing this. And this is, I know this was filed last year. I remember seeing this resolution as a doctor, obviously, and all of you. We have a nurse, we have a pharmacist. We do what we do based off of science, and we have to have proof to call something a medication and to advance it. A raw plant has got so many variables inside of it that if we're going to start calling a plant a medication, we have to have the science behind it. There's been lots of, reports that have been provided to us, and I know a lot of the reports that I've seen, I think a stack was provided to me by those who are proponents of allowing this to be used as a medicine now. A third of those studies are retrospective analyses. All those are used for is to determine trends. There might be a suggestion of studies to be done. So those aren't really science to determine something. A third of those are for drugs that are already available on the market, like Marinol and Epidiolex, which you mentioned in your resolution, which have been proven, and they've been FDA approved as a result. So that doesn't prove that the plant works, but that those extracts work. And there's a third of them that are things like 15 people have a condition, 8 get to use marijuana, 7 don't. The 8 feel better, so therefore it works. It's not really a study. But lots of those types of documents, and all of them to a T, say we need to do more research, we have to find out more answers. And I know there's been efforts. I know the chairwoman also has contacted our federal representation. I have as well, to ask if something could be done to allow the University of Kentucky, University of Louisville, someone to do these studies in Kentucky, so they can start making determinations of either yes, this works, or no, it doesn't, and answer that question once and for all. So I thank you all for presenting this. We've got a couple of individuals who have come who want to talk about this resolution. I think Reverend Gene Cole and Eric Crawford, if they're here, they'd like to come forward and introduce yourselves to the record. And
Here we go. While they're coming up, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would just like to say that this really goes in line with a proposal that you and I have talked about, and that would be to establish a center at University of Kentucky, including other universities, for cannabis research. And so I hope to be here in the Senate with that proposal pretty soon.
great, fabulous. We appreciate that. Reverend, if you'd like to introduce yourself, and Mr. Crawford, also introduce yourself to the record and then begin your testimony.
Okay, I'm Reverend Gene Cole. I'm with the Kentucky League on Alcohol and Gambling Problems, Assistant Executive Director. And I just wanted to come in support on this resolution with Representative Bentley. And like he was saying on the House floor when they voted on the others, marijuana needs to be doctor prescribed, pharmacist filled, with an FDA tested and approved medicine. Not like we're looking at with other stuff. We need to get the FDA involved. And so we're supporting this resolution in that matter. I've got a lot more I could say, but it's directed more towards the bills, not necessarily the resolution.
Thank you, Reverend. Mr. Crawford.
Thank you, Chairman Alvarado and members of the committee, for allowing me to speak. I'm in support of this resolution. There's just one thing. Please include the DEA when you send this resolution out. They're the ones with all the power, not the FDA. They're the ones holding the studies up. And in 1988, Judge Francis Young, the head of the DEA, wanted it rescheduled and called it cannabis one of the safest drugs known to man in its natural form. And the head of the FDA, I don't know his name, in 1988 wanted it rescheduled, and nothing ever happened. So this is going to be a hard job, and thank you for sending out the resolution. Please include the DEA.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Any questions from members of the committee? Senator Carroll?
Just a comment, and like all of my colleagues, I get more messages on this issue than anything else by far. And it is very disappointing that our federal government has put the states through what we've all been through with this, when they have the power to do what is necessary, to take whatever steps they need to get the studies done. We have spent, I would hate to even think about, with all the states combined, the millions, if not billions of dollars that have been spent on this. And I guess it's good for the economy, so I'm not sure I want to say that, but this has to be resolved at the federal level. There has to be the studies done. If we're going to use a medicine, the medicine needs to be tested. It's as simple as that. We don't know the side effects. We don't know what happens with combinations of other medications. And the worst thing that could possibly happen is we take steps to legalize this and then a year down the road, we see interactions with other medicines that cause the death of children in our state, I'm not going to have that on my shoulders. And I appreciate you all doing this, and I think we have to send a strong message to the federal government that it's time for you all to open this up and it's time to study this. Stop asking the states to put our people in the position of violating federal law in order to get medical assistance. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well stated. Thank you, Senator. Any other questions or comments? We have a motion on the resolution. Is there a second? You have a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Rocky Adams, Senator Buford, Senator Danny Carroll, Senator Julian Carroll, Senator Givens, Senator Harper Angel, Senator Kerr, Senator McGarvey, Senator Meredith, Senator Wise, Chairman Alvarado.
Aye. Very good. The matter passes unanimously. Congratulations. Thank you all for coming and providing your testimony. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.